All right, we're at Panther Creek. So this is Panther Creek Road that comes by. It's kind of a dreary, nasty day, but pretty secluded. You know, you're surrounded by big chunks of land out here, so you don't have a ton of people right next to you. You do have an old barn through there. There's a cell tower that you can kind of see through the mist in that direction. But yeah, it is a neat looking craftsman style Cape Cod house, wood siding, gently rolling front yard, just kind of rolls down to the street. And we'll do some outside walking while it's not raining. Take a look at some things. So it does have original wood windows, so you're looking at probably replacing the wooden windows. The chimney looks like it's in good shape. I don't see any big cracks or anything. Interestingly enough, this tank, if you're not familiar with it, they have oil heat, or they do something with oil. But of course, that is definitely replaceable. The wood siding doesn't look like to be in too bad a condition, actually. I mean, it needs scraped and it needs painted, but it's not rotting. Got a little stick-built carport here. And a little garage, which is kind of neat. So there are some different sections of barbed wire fencing. You can see there's a gate right there by that pine tree. Some different sections of barbed wire fencing throughout this property. Like at one time they have had some type of livestock, whether it was cows or goats or who knows what. Underneath this deck, which has a handicap ramp actually, there's some cool old stone steps that are big half circles. They're pretty neat. So all in all, the exterior doesn't look too bad. It has a metal roof, and the flashing is a little bit crude. However, it does look like it's functioning. And that roof doesn't look old at all, actually. A couple of hairline cracks here and there in this stone, and this stone is actually outside of some cinder block. So it's very possible that those little hairline cracks don't actually mean anything at all. Interestingly enough, there's a black pipe that just caught my eye that sticks out over here, and you can see there's a barbed wire fence here too. But there's a black pipe, and it makes me wonder what it comes from. It looks like this is a laundry room. You can see there's a hole underneath that double window. That's a dryer vent. It's super common on these older houses to have a washing machine that just kind of drains out into a gravel field, or in this case, just down the hill. And it's not sewage, and it's not septic water or anything like that. It's just soapy water, and that's why it was done that way for a long time. This electric on the outside of the house would have to be shaped up a little bit, put into conduit. All those wires sticking around there, that's an old connection, so that's not actually doing anything. Just an eyesore more than anything. But I like this green roof with some fresh white paint, some green shutters. This house could really be pretty from the road. Has a tongue and groove front porch. Which is kind of neat. Small garage barn over here, and they do have a paved driveway, which is nice. It's about 39 degrees here today and raining, so I had to zip up my coat. It's pretty chilly. This old barn, it does look like it's dry, which is good. And it's pretty basic. Got a little bit of a gully behind this barn. So it does look like at one time a lot of this property was cleared. See if we can get down through here. Got some big old thorn bushes. So this is some kind of old tractor path, actually. And it has grown up. But you can clearly tell at one time they definitely used this for a tractor path or something of those sorts. There's a little patch of woods. There's a field over there on the right that I'm trying to figure out how to get to. We have a big hillside coming up on the left. And it's just a big hillside of hardwoods. And then over here to my right is just a big valley. Here we go. I was told there are some trails like this that kind of go throughout the property. And this looks like it's an extremely well-used deer trail. There's deer tracks just all over it in the mud. Of course, you would definitely have a lot of deer, tons of turkeys here. And I guarantee you on this 100 acres somewhere there's a bear or two. So we've got this little marshy bottom area. Which could very easily be bush hogged and turned back into just a hayfield. So you definitely have some options for that. Here's a old deer feeder of some sorts. And it's a little bit marshy down here. It's kind of wet, but we have definitely had an extremely wet winter. And I would expect that this would dry out nicely. Even up here on this little bit of a hill I just walked up on, it's still pretty soggy. This is the little hill of hardwoods that I was talking about. And I don't know how well this conveys in the video, but that hill is semi-steep. It's probably a good 30-35 degree angle. And it kind of goes up this left side of the property. And then we do have a creek that flows through here. And this is actual flowing water. I would say this probably has water maybe all year. It could very well be spring fed. We have a lot of limestone here, so we have a fair amount of spring water. This is a mix of hickory. That big straight tree there is a tulip poplar. Anything with these little brown leaves, those are beech trees. And of course there's some oaks scattered through too. Just a nice little chunk of hardwoods. Pretty typical for our hardwoods here of East Tennessee. We're going to go back to where this path cut up to the left. I do want to show you a little bit more of this property real fast. So all 100 acres are not going to be necessarily buildable or easily buildable. But then you have nice rolling hillsides like this, where you could put a house towards the top of it, have a nice little view, a nice yard, a lot of options. And it flattens out up here in these pines. And if you cut these pines down, you'd have a view of this hollow all the way down, which would be pretty neat. This side of the property is more evergreens than hardwoods. But you can see all these trees. They're less than 2 inches or so in diameter. They'd be very easy to clear out. And that also tells us that they're not very old. And this was probably a pasture not more than 10 years ago. So off to my right here is another stand of hardwoods, and there's a pretty big drop off over that way. Off to my left are all those little pine trees. So more than likely this was a field. This was just woods. And I've passed through a couple of hardwood fences. Or not hardwood fences, I'm sorry, barbed wire fences. Getting into here. But there is definitely a fair amount of flat ridge top, or hilltop I should say, not really ridge. You could certainly, a lot of places to put a house if you wanted to. That would be well off the road and pretty secluded. Right in front of me, when you get to these brown leaves right here, that drops off at about a 60-degree incline. I definitely would not want to walk up or down that. And we have only covered, maybe 3, 4, 5 acres of this. This 100-acre plot is just massive. It would take probably a good half a day or more if we really wanted to explore it. But it's pretty neat. We'll take a look inside the house.